I knew things were bad the moment I heard the HOA president yell, "Pay the 100,000 by Friday, or we take action." But I never expected I'd be standing on my front porch at midnight, gripping my old shotgun, while a group of men in reflective vests marched across my yard like they owned it. The porch light flickered, my hands were shaking, and all I could think was, if they take one more step toward my house, I swear. That was the night everything exploded, literally and figuratively, and I've never seen grown men run so fast in their lives. But I should probably start earlier, back when everything still felt normal. My name's Mark, I'm 52, a widower, and I live on the same little acre my father bought 50 years ago. The place isn't perfect, paint peeling, porch sagging, but it's mine. And after my wife passed, it became my last piece of peace. My daughter, Emily, visits on weekends, and my best friend since high school, Ron, stops by with beer and bad advice at least twice a week. He's the loud type, the guy who still thinks he's 25 even though his back cracks every time he sits down. The trouble started after the new HOA board took over our neighborhood. I wasn't even fully part of the HOA. My property bordered their territory but wasn't under their rules. Dad made sure of that when he bought the land. But the new president, a guy named Clayton, acted like he was a sheriff from some old Western movie. He strutted around like he owned half the county and hated that my house wasn't under his control. He'd make comments like, "We'll get your property in the association eventually," and laugh in that fake, smug way that made me want to dunk his head in a bird bath. Then I got the letter. Mandatory compliance assessment. $100,000 due immediately. I thought it was a prank. I actually laughed. $100,000? For what? The crime of existing. But the letter wasn't a joke. The HOA claimed my property benefited from HOA roads, landscaping, and security, and that I owed retroactive fees. I ripped the paper in half and tossed it. Later that night, Ron almost spit his beer out when I showed him the pieces. "Mark, buddy, I've done dumb things in my life," he said, "but even I wouldn't pay that." The next week, the harassment started. HOA volunteers stood near my driveway with clipboards writing down imagined violations. One took pictures of my truck. Another measured my grass with a ruler, like he was a land surveyor on a mission from God. They mailed me more letters, each nastier than the last. Failure to comply will result in enforcement actions. Enforcement? Against me? A man who wasn't even under them? It made no sense. Emily told me to stay calm, but I saw the worry in her eyes. She's 23, smart, braver than she knows. One night she said, "Dad, don't let those people bully you. Mom wouldn't want that." And hearing her mention her mother like that, something tightened in me, like a fuse had just been lit. Things took a darker turn when I came home from the grocery store to find an orange sticker on my door. Final notice. 2 HOA men were still in my yard. I asked them, politely at first, to leave. They smirked. One said, "This will go a lot smoother when you understand your place." My place. Like I was a dog they were trying to train. I saw red. I stepped toward them, but before I could say anything stupid, Ron pulled up and yelled, "Hey, you two in the wrong yard." The men left, muttering something about escalation procedures. That phrase chilled me. I tried calling the county. They laughed. Literally laughed. "Sir," the woman said, "you can't be forced into an HOA you never agreed to." That gave me confidence, until the HOA sent me a letter claiming they were filing a lien on my house. I felt sick. A lien meant danger. A lien meant losing the home my father built with his own hands and where my late wife planted every rose bush. That night, I barely slept. My father's old shotgun sat in the corner of the bedroom like some relic of another era. I hadn't fired it in 20 years, but seeing it there reminded me I wasn't powerless. Not violent, but not powerless. The big twist came when my daughter showed up the next morning with a folder in her hands. She said, "Dad, you won't believe what I found." Inside were documents, old land maps, HOA boundaries, county zoning records. But the wild part? The HOA was trying to expand illegally. They didn't own half the land they claimed. In fact, part of the main road the HOA bragged about maintaining was technically mine. My father never signed the easement document, meaning they were using my land to access their community. Meaning, if anyone owed money, it wasn't me, it was them. I felt something between relief and fury. Decades of maps, signatures, and legal lines all stacked in my favor. I felt like my dad had reached out from the past to slap Clayton right across the face. When Ron heard, he yelled so loud he scared my dog. Emily helped me file an official complaint with the county, and they told me an investigation was opened. I didn't expect the HOA to learn about it so fast, but they did. And that brings me to the night everything exploded. I was sitting on the porch when I saw the flashlights.
6 men,
all wearing HOA vests. One held bolt cutters. Another carried a clipboard like he was about to write me a ticket in my own yard. They moved like they'd rehearsed it. That's when my fear turned into something sharper. Determination. I went inside, grabbed the shotgun, and stepped back out. "Stop right there," I said. My voice was steady, even though my hands trembled. The porch light flickered above me like a scene from a movie. They froze. One whispered, "He's armed." Another said, "We have authority." I shook my head. Not on my land. For a second, no one moved. Then Clayton stepped forward from the darkness. His face looked ghostly under the street lamp. "Mark," he said, "put the gun down. We're reclaiming HOA property." I nearly laughed. "Property," I said. "That road you're standing on? It's mine." And then I showed him the document Emily found. He went pale. His mouth opened and closed like a dying fish. What happened next happened fast. Police cars rolled up. Turns out someone had anonymously called them. Later we learned it was the surprising helper in the whole mess, Mrs. Turner, the sweet old lady next door who pretended not to hear anything but saw everything. She told the cops she feared a mob was coming after me. Turns out the HOA had broken multiple laws: trespassing, intimidation, illegal expansion. And that lien they tried to file? Completely void. Clayton and 2 board members were removed. The county fined them heavily. And the best part? The HOA now had to pay me a fee every year to use that tiny strip of road they'd been claiming as theirs. Not a fortune, but enough to make me smile every time the check arrives. After everything calmed down, Emily hugged me and said, "Mom would have been proud of you." I felt tears burn my eyes. I didn't fight because of anger. I fought because this home was all we had left of her.
Now,
life is quieter. Ron still comes over with beer and the same bad jokes. The roses my wife planted still bloom every spring. And sometimes, when the breeze is soft and the light hits just right, I swear I can feel her presence on the porch beside me. I learned something important through all this. Peace isn't given. It's protected. Sometimes you've got to stand your ground, not with violence, not with rage, but with truth, courage, and the people who love you. And if someone ever tries to take what's yours, well, let's just say make sure your porch light works, your documents are in order, and your heart stays steady. Because storms eventually pass. And after this one, I know I'll never be afraid of another.